health is not an accident. It's you don't get there by guessing, by just trying things. It has to be engineered, and engineering requires data. It really does. Not fragments, not guesses. Let's see what happens if I try this. That's how people spin their gears and waste time and money. Test, map, treat, retest, optimize. And that is really the future of medicine.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information, with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
Welcome back to another episode of Health Decoded. Today we are going to talk about something really cool that I believe represents the future of medicine and, quite frankly, the dividing line between reactive healthcare and true health restoration, as we call it. And the topic here is the 5 lab tests you need but probably have never done and your doctor isn't going to do for you. Let me say something up front here that may challenge how you think about healthcare overall, and that is that standard labs are really becoming a thing of the past, not because they're useless, but because they're incomplete. They were designed for a medical system whose primary objective is to detect disease once it's already developed. But what if your goal isn't just to avoid disease? What if your goal is resilience, longevity, metabolic strength? What if your goals are cognitive clarity and hormone stability, or a strong immune system? Quote me on this: you cannot build elite health with limited data, and I will stand by that. And yet, every single day, I meet intelligent, motivated people who tell me, my doctor said everything looked normal, doc. But they're exhausted, they're inflamed, they're struggling, they're mentally foggy, they know something's not right. So let's offer maybe a simple analogy here. Waiting for standard labs to catch a problem is like waiting for your car engine to seize before you decide to change the oil. Maintenance always beats breakdown. So waiting for something bad to happen isn't always the best approach. And so comprehensive testing, like we do here at Ascend Functional Health, is what we call maintenance medicine. If you're not running these deeper tests, you are not practicing proactive healthcare. You are waiting for something to go wrong. And so today I'm going to walk you through the 5 lab tests that allow us to map the body's internal ecosystem and what I often call your biological terrain mapping. Because if you cannot clearly map what's going on, you are not ready to treat. And so let's get right into it, because, we're going to talk about a few pretty deep topics here. And so I don't want to make this episode too long. So lab number 1, okay, and this is the one that we run on basically every single patient that comes into the office, our comprehensive panel. Now, this is a customized test that I formulated myself based on what I've seen I need to fully understand the ecosystem inside somebody's blood and what things we need to do and how we can make the right moves and changes going forward. And so everything begins here. Before we begin optimizing, before peptides and advanced protocols, we have to understand the terrain. And so a true comprehensive panel is not just a CBC and cholesterol, which you're going to get at your standard doc. It's a multi-system physiological snapshot. So let's walk through what that means. Foundational chemistry. We evaluate the CBC and comprehensive metabolic panel alongside electrolyte levels, looking at oxygen delivery, immune patterns, kidney and liver function, as well as your cellular hydration. Because subtle shifts here often will precede disease by years. We look at what we call cardiac intelligence. We're not guessing if you're going to have a heart attack. We're not saying, maybe, right? It's going to be okay. We analyze advanced markers, including, and these are the ones that you will not get at your standard doc, a PLAC score. This is basically a cardiac artery plaquing score, homocysteine, an inflammation marker, oxidized LDL, myeloperoxidase or MPO, HSCRP, and then NT-proBNP. These are all myocardial risk inflammation factors. And so these markers will reveal inflammation inside the vascular system long before a blockage occurs. Heart disease is not sudden. We know that by now. It is quietly brewing for decades until something triggers and someone has a heart attack. The next thing we look at is hormonal architecture. We assess total and free testosterone. Sex hormone binding globulin is your body utilizing these androgens. Estradiol, DHEA, cortisol, progesterone, FSH, and LH. And because hormones do not just influence reproduction, they actually regulate your metabolism, your brain function, sleep, recovery, and motivation. And they operate in a cascade where if one thing is off, the body's going to prioritize producing other hormones, and we can create an imbalance over time, often due to stress and lack of intervention. The next thing we look at is the thyroid, basically your metabolic governor. And so we're going to evaluate TSH, T3, T4, reverse T3, but we also always include anti-TPO and anti-TG markers for autoimmune risk, because the thyroid dysfunction is often missed when practitioners rely solely on TSH and T3. They're only getting a piece. We look at glycemic control. So we're going to analyze fasting glucose, insulin, hemoglobin A1C, beta cell function, and ferritin. Insulin resistance begins silently. Patients often miss this, 10 to 15 years before they develop diabetes. They had some level of insulin resistance building. And that goes into our marker that we test, which is an HOMA-IR. It's basically an algorithmic score of your body's insulin resistance developing. And so we'll see somebody, and I see this all the time. I literally just saw 2 of these this week. Patients who have normal glucose, normal fasting glucose, normal insulin, and normal A1C, but they have this high HOMA-IR score, basically telling me that the pancreas is working to produce insulin and becoming more resistant over time. Even if it's a moderate score, it tells me something under the surface is going on. And then we look at nutritional markers as a part of this panel as well. Folate, vitamin D, B12. And this is not optional. These are foundational markers that give us the physiological map, because this is the overall, what I call it, the widest net that we can cast to get the most information the most efficiently, if you will. And so this is the beginning, because there's other tests that we're going to talk about now that take it a little bit deeper. But again, you are not getting these at your standard doc, your PCP, with your checkup. And I air quoted that. And so the next test that we're going to run, and this is probably the one we run second most, that's why it's number 2, is our gut zoomer, or our gut scan. And so most chronic illness, and I will stand by this, most chronic illness has a gut-related component or origin. The gut zoomer provides us with deep insight into your digestive and systemic symptoms by analyzing the gut microbiome, pathogens, inflammation markers, and your overall gut function. It identifies markers linked to leaky gut, immune reactivity, poor detox capacity, nutrient malabsorption. All of these are drivers of chronic inflammation and hormone imbalance. So we're going to evaluate critical markers in this test, in particular zonulin and anti-LPS or lipopolysaccharide. These are indicators of intestinal permeability or leaky gut. We're going to test for calprotectin. This is a signal of inflammatory activity in the gut. Beta-glucuronidase, which is tied to toxin and estrogen clearance. And then short-chain fatty acids, which are essential for metabolic and gut lining health. This test also goes very deep and very specific into the different microorganisms, both probiotics, commensal biotics, pathobiotics, viruses, fungus, yeast. And it's often the things that are missed in standard testing. And again, including those fungal, parasitic, and viral contributors that can drive things like fatigue, skin issues, and immune dysregulation. And so the reality here, clinically, is you can't optimize your hormones, you can't optimize inflammation, you can't optimize your brain function and energy with a dysbiotic gut, because that is built there. Your neurotransmitters are built in the gut. We've talked about this in previous episodes. And so gut restoration often becomes the first domino, the first thing we approach. Next, basically the test that we run in conjunction with the gut zoomer almost 90 to 99% of the time is a food sensitivity test. This pairs with the gut zoomer, because now once we understand the gut, we have to understand also what's maybe triggering or aggravating it. The food sensitivity profile measures both IgA and IgG antibody responses to detect immune reactions to commonly consumed foods. So these are delayed sensitivities, unlike an allergy, which, if you don't know the difference, an allergy is an IgE response. Your body has an allergic anaphylactic response to food. These are severe. These are things you need epinephrine for, or even to go to an emergency room, because it can cause your throat to swell up or severe reactions. Sensitivities are different. Sensitivities are often under the scenes. You don't even really notice it. Maybe you get some digestive discomfort. Maybe you feel brain foggy if you're very in tune, but most people are not, and they miss these. And then we're eating these foods on a daily basis that are just triggering constant reactivity and inflammation within the body. And so this test will call that out. Many patients are going to say, I tried the elimination diet and, it didn't help. Well, it's because you were guessing. You were trying to figure out, which things worked for me and which didn't. This test actually analyzes your body's immune response to over 97 foods, helping uncover hidden drivers of inflammation and immune activity. And so when we remove inflammatory triggers by eliminating the foods causing it, now we can accelerate healing dramatically. And so let's get into the next test that we often run, the whole blood nutrient and omega panel. But real quick, before we do that, I want to take a quick word from one of our sponsors. Hey, busy professionals and parents, let me ask you something. Do you need help with your low energy, stubborn weight, brain fog, gut issues, or hormones, but you don't know where to start? Well, you're not alone. And the biggest problem is that modern healthcare is designed to diagnose disease, but often misses the dysfunction that begins years earlier as under the surface symptoms. That's exactly why I created the Functional Medicine Starter System. This is a structured, physician-led process designed to uncover what is actually driving your symptoms, whether it's rooted in gut health, metabolic function, inflammation, nutrient status, or hormonal imbalance. No guessing, no generic protocols, just real data and a clear plan. So if you're tired of searching for answers, but you're not sure how to begin solving your health issues, go to the link in the podcast show notes to learn more about the Functional Medicine Starter System. Because once you have clarity, you can finally start to feel like yourself again. All right, let's get back to the episode here. Thank you for that. So the fourth lab that we often run, and is a part of what we call our Big Five, is the whole blood nutrient and omega profile, or the micronutrient profile, or the nutrient zoomer. Has a few different names. And a mistake I constantly see is that people are taking supplements because someone told them, this helped me, or because someone told them, this one's good for you, or because their chiropractor, not to shed any shade here, but told them, just take this random supplement, without knowing if it actually was helping them, right? That's not functional medicine. That's just guesswork. And so the whole blood nutrient profile evaluates over 40 nutrients, including vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, amino acids, to identify deficiencies that could be affecting your health. What makes this test powerful is that it measures both intracellular and extracellular levels, offering a true snapshot of your nutrient status. Why does that matter? Because serum levels alone can look normal while the cell might be starving for nutrition. So deficiencies here are often linked to conditions like heart disease, osteoporosis, neurological disorders, fatigue, mood changes, and one we see a lot is that impaired recovery or impaired healing. We'll have patients coming through here doing one of our physical medicine programs. Maybe they're working on restoring an injured disc or a hurt, an ACL or a knee or a shoulder, whatever it might be. And they're trying to heal, and it's slow and it's taking forever, and they have relapses. And it's because their body's lacking the nutrition, the building blocks to allow them to heal and recover. And so when we lack those building blocks, performance will drop as well, recovery will drop, and optimization obviously becomes impossible at that point. So it's a very important test. And then the fifth test on the list here that is something that I love, and this is because this is becoming more commonplace now with just the world we live in, is the total toxicity score. And so basically we call it the total toxic burden test. And this is going to check for basically every toxin that could be within your body, the total toxic load, we call it. And so this panel analyzes excreted toxins, detox capacity, and oxidative stress to uncover contributors to your fatigue, immune dysfunction, and cognitive issues. It reports 87 urinary markers, including 20 heavy metals, 29 mycotoxins or mold toxins, and 38 environmental toxins, such as plastics and xenoestrogens that could be building within your body. We also assess detox pathways such as glutathione conjugation, sulfation, and methylation. All are essential for safe toxin clearance. And so here's the uncomfortable truth is you can take every supplement in the world. You are not going to out-supplement toxicity. You just won't. Even a lot of these over-the-counter Instagram ad detoxes or pills or binders or whatever you call them, if they're not done in an appropriate way, can actually make you worse because they're going to pull toxins into the blood but not actually help you clear them. So it has to be done. I always recommend this is done under the supervision of a professional who knows what they're doing, like the doctors at Ascend Functional Health. And so, again, interference must be reduced before optimization can occur, as always. And so, again, those are the big 5 labs, we call them. This is the optimal panel that we will run with the patients coming in here who are really hoping to get ahead of things and really get to the highest level of health. This isn't for everyone. Most patients will start with either this or some level of this. And, we'll get the overall snapshot of how we're going to help this person go from sick, struggling, confused, to optimizing their health and living the life of their dreams. And so in closing here, let me just leave everybody with this thought. And I would love, love, love if you found value in this. If this seemed like something that could help someone, yourself, please just follow the show, subscribe to stay in touch, but also share this with somebody. When we share these episodes, we're getting the word out there that there's more to medicine than just waiting to get sick. And it could help somebody. It really could. So, health is not an accident. It's you don't get there by guessing, by just trying things. It has to be engineered, and engineering requires data. It really does. Not fragments, not guesses. So not, hey, let's see what happens if I try this, right? That's how people spin their gears and waste time and money. So in this order, test, map, treat, retest, optimize. That's how we operate. And that is really the future of medicine. So if this episode resonated with you, please, if you're ready to stop waiting for something to break, I invite you to learn more about our functional medicine programs. You can visit our website, ascendfunctionalhealth.com. You can schedule a free discovery call with us, talk to one of my team members or myself. And when you mention the podcast, we actually have an exclusive gift for you to say thank you. Because your health should not be left to chance. It should be something that you take control of. And as always, our tagline and what we say is, your health is in your hands. Let us help guide you, but you are the hero. Thank you again for tuning in to Health Decoded. I'm Dr. Alessi, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources and personalized support, visit us at alessifunctionalhealth.com and sign up for our newsletter. To hear your questions answered live on the show, send them to ask@alessifxhealth.com. That's ask@alessifxhealth.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.